Say Crawford should have talked his talk before when he needed him. He wasn't talking like this. Now that he got the money, the cash, now I don't need WC to get me an opportunity. Now I'm gonna say, yo, fuck y'all, blah blah blah. To me, that's a little cowardice, you know.
Ryan Garcia is making his stance on Terence Crawford unmistakably clear, calling the former undisputed champion's refusal to pay the WBC fee nothing short of cowardice. Despite securing 50 million Australian dollars payday, Crawford refused to hand over what Garcia says is pocket change, framing the dispute not as financial, but as a matter of greed and honor. It feels like just yesterday Crawford shocked the world by jumping up in weight, dismantling Canelo Alvarez, and claiming the undisputed super middleweight crown, a moment meant to cement him as the greatest of his era. Yet that reign ended faster than a training camp, as news broke last week that the WBC had officially stripped Crawford of his belt.
It's free! How you love that? $180,000 free. How much your belt cost? I wonder, how much your belt cost? Huh? I don't see no receipts on your belt. It's crazy. Y'all be having so much taxes on these belts. You got some nerves. It's crazy that you can sit up there and have all these belts. You know, you got the WBC silver, the WBA intern, the whatever belt y'all got, and you taxing these fighters every time they fight, and you claim that you for these fighters. You're not for these fighters. You probably worse than the promoters. But hey, I wish you the best, you know? I wish you the best.
This wasn't a disciplinary punishment or the result of ducking a mandatory challenger. It was purely financial. The WBC sent Crawford the standard invoice for sanctioning fees, the routine cost of holding the green and gold belt, and he simply refused to pay it. And just like that, his undisputed status vanished overnight.
Petition to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000, with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route. No response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, it's great, it's about greatness, and I'm relieved, to tell you the truth.
Fans, it feels like a confusing anticlimax. You win the biggest fight of the century, reach the top of the mountain, and then lose your footing simply because you wouldn't write a check. It sounds bizarre, but once you peel back the layers, it becomes clear that this was a calculated standoff between Crawford and the sanctioning organizations that had been brewing for a long time.
I mean, we gotta know where this money going to. I mean, a lot of times they get, man, you got Canelo and Josh and all these guys, you know, making $50 million, and these belts getting 3% of that. Where's it going to? How's it helping the fighters out? What are they doing with it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford.
Here's where the numbers make the story even murkier. Fighters typically owe around 3% of their purse when competing for a world title, so on 50 million Australian dollars payday. Crawford's fee should have been a massive $1.5 million. But the WBC actually cut him a break, capping the fee at just $300,000. For most people, that's a house. For a fighter who just pocketed $50 million, it's It's barely 0.6% of his earnings, the equivalent of buying a coffee when you've got hundreds in your wallet. Yet Crawford still refused, reportedly skipping fees for his last 2 fights. Now the industry is split. Is he taking a stand against alphabet organizations that profit off fighters, or is he a multimillionaire penny pinching at the cost of boxing tradition? The discount was offered, the bill slashed. And the answer was still a firm no.
TO, you know, got a lot to say about me not paying him $300,000 plus another $100K something for sanction fees, right? They ain't gonna tell me I ain't even apologize. Like, who the fuck you think I am? Boy, you better slap your fucking self. Ain't paying your ass shit. Fuck you talking about pay you $300,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any other sanction?
If this were simply money going into the pockets of executives, fans might actually support Crawford. Everyone loves a rebel who stands up to the corporate machine. But there's a twist that makes his refusal look far darker. A significant portion of those WBC sanctioning fees goes directly into the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund. A lifeline for fighters the sport has forgotten. Boxing chews athletes up and spits them out with no safety net. And this fund helps pay for housing, food, medical bills, and support for retired fighters suffering from brain injuries, poverty, or homelessness. So when Crawford withheld that $300,000, he wasn't just stiffing the WBC, he was effectively cutting off aid to the very fighters who built the sport before him.
What the Jose Sulaiman Foundation does because of those sanctioning fees that you refuse to pay. You know what he does? He helps these kids get off the streets. He houses ex-fighters. That money goes into retirement funds. That money goes into paying hospital bills for fighters who can't make it. So just because you made it, Crawford, and you made $50 million, you don't want to pay that fee ever again? That is wrong. I'm very disappointed. Yeah, there's an agenda here by that TKO group. And I'm going to do everything in my power to do whatever I can to protect boxing. Because this is a sport that gave me everything.
This is the detail that turned a simple business dispute into a full-blown moral controversy. It's one thing to challenge the system, but it's another to choke off a charity fund while being the highest paid athlete in the sport.
Now you want to pay me less? Like, it doesn't work like that. If the belts help you make it to a position where you're gonna make 3-4 times more than what you were making, then you have to pay. Plus, the WBC already said it. They also work with the fighters to get
smaller. Yes. Instead of 3%, it was 0.6.
3%, but
yes.
You know, when you're making that much a million, obviously they work something out, which I think was 300,000.
Yes.
So from 50 million, 300,000, you know, it is a lot of money for these guys, but for Crawford, it should have.
It's one sponsorship, not even a sponsor. One sponsor is.
You know, it's all.
But look, you love Crawford, Robert.
But you have to. Yeah. But you have to know that you get it. Just like promoters get paid, just like managers need to get paid, just like vendors need to get paid too. You know, I don't know if I don't know how I don't know their situation, but with the trainer, with the managers. You know, I don't think it's fair that, the manager gets you to $1 million payday. Oh, sorry, now I can only pay you 3%. Now I can only pay you. No,
fighters do that too. Not you, but other coaches. 10%. Then his fighter makes $40 million. Now it's $80,000.
I've heard that happen. But
that's not cool.
I think it's not cool. I think it's not fair.
Give him the 10% because that's what he did.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Nothing against Crawford, tremendous fighter, Robert. I respect him a lot. Again, after the Canelo fight, I'm not saying nothing bad about him, but he should have told the WBC before the fight, hey, I'm not paying. And then they could decide if they want to put the belt on the line or pull it off.
No, but
why
the
not?
thing is that he wouldn't become undisputed.
Well, to pay the dues then.
No, well, I
or
agree.
just, even if misunderstanding, just pay it and let it go away. Keep it classy.
7. This is exactly where Ryan Garcia sees the opening and went straight for the jugular. On Ring Magazine's Inside the Ring show, he ripped apart the idea that Crawford is some martyr for fighter rights. Arguing the issue is simple authenticity, Garcia pointed out that when Crawford was climbing the ranks and needed the belts to build his name, he played by the rules, paid the fees, posed for photos, and used the WBC to elevate his career. Crawford should have talked his talk before, Garcia said, accusing him of switching up the moment the $50 million check cleared. To Garcia, this isn't rebellion against corruption. It's a selfish move by someone who got what he needed and then burned the bridge for the fighters behind him. He even went further, calling Crawford hypocritical before dropping the ultimate insult in boxing, labeling him a coward. In a sport built on pride and toughness, Garcia argued it's easy to act defiant when your bank account looks like a phone number. Real courage, he said, is challenging the system when you have nothing.
What's up, Eddie?
So much to talk to you about. Where do you want me to? So many big news in boxing.
Is there?
So you were out of town. You were in Mexico. Terence Crawford got stripped by the WBC for not paying sanctioning. I'm telling you, he didn't pay sanctioning dues for the last 2 fights. We've had this talk in the past where you always told me sanctioning dues are important, and you're a big supporter of them because you said
I'm a big supporter. To Garcia, Crawford yelling, "Yo, forget y'all to the WBC now," isn't bravery, it's convenience. He questioned why anyone would risk their undisputed legacy over what amounts to a rounding error in Crawford's wealth. Even admitting the only thing I don't agree with is why it's $330,000, echoing the confusion of fans everywhere. By calling it cowardice, Garcia is arguing that Crawford's so-called principles are fake, appearing only once they became profitable. It's a harsh character indictment that portrays the pound-for-pound king as someone who lost touch with the struggle the moment he touched the gold.
This whole situation that we learnt about with Terence Crawford being stripped yesterday.
Well, it's very unfortunate. The worst situation, the worst decision that the WBC could ever take is to withdraw recognition of a champion. And I am very sorry for Terence's actions. His actions led to the WBC decide something. And we did every single possible attempt to find a resolution and to avoid what eventually had happened. But boxing champions have obligations, same as they have great benefits from being a WBC champion. And it has been a long process, which is very uncomfortable and disappointing.
Garcia was firing shots across social media and podcast platforms. WBC President Mauricio Suleiman, the man at the center of the financial dispute, took a very different approach. In a calm interview with TV, he played the role of the unbothered executive. He didn't shout, he didn't insult, and he didn't threaten legal action. Instead, he delivered a response soaked in passive-aggressive shade. "I am not going to entertain or get into a painting contest with Terence Crawford," Suleiman said.